Hi, I'm so glad you're here. This is Melissa, and together, let's find those grounding magical moments in our lives that nourish our spirituality.
Not knowing how to make a life decision is very nerve-wracking, especially when we see other people reaching states of where they want to be, such as owning a home, having kids, making that career change. And we look at that and feel like, oh, they've reached it. Um, they've made the change they wanted, and now they're happy, and I haven't. We value our status of completion so much because having reached a certain state, it's like an accomplishment, and it's a sign of stability that we can apply to our timeline. You only put down a milestone when we reach a state completely. And on the other hand, wanting to move towards somewhere, getting started on a change, but not getting there yet is such an undesired feeling. It maybe starts as exciting, but things like not being there yet, having figured out the path, not being able to make a decision, it feels like defeat and it feels like shame to me. It feels like I'm incapable of knowing what I want and making that change. Digging deeper into the reasons I want and don't want to move the mountains didn't make it an easier decision. That made it stressful because this is not a decision I can go with the flow with and let the result just happen to me and I'll just adapt to it. And my husband, he is my family and my partner. He's gonna have responses to every yes I say and every no I bring up. And if I refuse to give input, then he carries the burden of the choice if I don't give input right now. So it can't be a 0 to 100, not even like a 10 to 90 imbalance. I do have to voice my opinions very clearly. So w- even before this, on the weekend when my husband was out of town, I drove myself up to the mountain town for a hike and then, just to get my own feeling for the area. I stopped by the community library. I love libraries, and there are racks of books and magazines on all the things like country living, mountain living, DIY, self-sufficiency, all that kind of topics. They're all unknown to me, and it was exciting. Some of these are like, oh, my daydream, I want to learn about this and that, but thinking about that as the reality, and also maybe as the thing that you're supposed to have some knowledge and be familiar with, that made me feel like overwhelmed novice. Or that day when I was hiking on the trail, I felt similar when I came across a bunch of cows on the trail. I had no idea how I should behave. Ignore them, that's just fine. Or if there is some little trick that I should be doing that I should know, and I have no idea. There's so much that I haven't experienced and might never experience that anything is possible. And seeing from that point of view set me at ground zero and helps me seek out my inner voice when I'm not surrounded by others, when loved ones are the most important and impactful opinions. It was just a period of time that I realized I really have to create situations where I can get rid of all the context, all the experiences, and unlearn all the learnings and values I've up to my life to kind of have a better feel for a future I want to create and not just what I'm used to. Coincidentally, at the time of this reflection, I came across a piece of writing by someone named Jeffrey Keefer, PhD, who he's an educational consultant and an eco mindfulness guide. His writing was titled Walking Between Worlds: Threshold Thinking for Complex Times. It includes observing thresholds in the nature outside and practicing both and perspectives as we notice those thresholds, like, beach between water and land, forest to meadow, that kind of thing, and also paying attention to the heart space at such transitional places, also like doorways and bridges. And how this would have applied to me back then is that even though the decision and result seemed to be yes, I agree moving to the mountains versus no, I disagree. The truth and agreement, the negotiation would involve many non-binary choices. It's not just yes and no. There are endless possibilities of living situations. Maybe like, can I accept no covered garage as long as the property has enough trees? Or can I accept it if the house is newer and requires less immediate maintenance? Then I'll have more confidence to live there. Or if the drive to the grocery store if it's 1 hour and doesn't matter, if more than half of that is unpaved road versus paved road, there's so many. It's like there are many configurations that you can fine tune. It's really not as simply yes and no. And I think I was aware at that time to decide that it was a divergent period where the purpose is to discover as much as possible what I don't know, different scenarios, different angles, and gather data about my reactions and my questions. So, what do I really want? What am I comfortable with? If you're facing big choices and see yourself in the period of gathering information about yourself, you should be proud, and anyone should be proud if they're aware and engaged in the middle of living that question. In a later episode, I will share what influenced my decision the most, from the most practical reasons to spiritual ones. I'm sure that more and more our world will recognize the liminal spaces in their own right, the spaces of transition, spaces of reflection, and nurturing the space for decision and not trying to make a decision yet. These are spaces like transition between winter and spring, between sleep and awake, the process of not knowing but still actively engaging. And know these are the magical, valuable spaces. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in another episode.